You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day. Or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help.
The FHN network is sponsored in part by Hoddle Services. If you're looking for a disc jockey, karaoke host, video jockey to videographer, our company can help. With over 20 years of experience, we would be happy to help with your special event within Ontario, Canada. You can contact us at 226-988-2895 or visit us at our website at hoddleservices.vpweb.ca. That's HODDLE Services. We look forward to hearing from you and helping with your special event.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 19, I believe it is, of Off the Puck. Sorry I'm a little unprepared. We're missing our leader, Findsy, tonight, but it's all right. Me and Wooks will take it, and we'll do what we can do. We'd just like to thank our sponsor, MVP, for their great beer. The Game Changer is an excellent beer. If you haven't tried it, try it. They're doing great things out there. All their they kick back into local sports, 5% of their proceeds that they make. So they're doing great things. So you're doing a good thing by helping them and them helping local sports. So try MVP out today. If you find it any local golf courses, liquor stores or whatever, check them out online, Instagram, Facebook. Give them a try. They're great. But before we get going, I'd just like to welcome our other co-host, Wooks. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Styler, I'm hoping this is going to work here. We're having some issues there, and actually, just as you started talking, your mic or your camera flipped from being upside down to right, so I'm hoping that did something for us.
Well, we might be on track there, buddy. I don't know. I'm just on first time in my renovated basement, too, so I don't really know how good the internet will be down here, but we'll check out and see how it is. That's why it's kind of bare down here and maybe echoey, but yeah, before we go any further, we'd just like to welcome our guest tonight. Luke, I'm going to butcher your last name, so you go ahead with your last name, but he's a local guy that's been doing some great things, had a great hockey career, and now owns a gym, and he's a strength coach. So before any further, we'll welcome Luke and pronounce your last name before we do butcher it.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys, and it's Vanmoerkerke. Not sure why they jumbled all the letters up. It's a lot simpler than you think, but yeah. Thanks again for having me on. Looking forward to chatting here.
How many different pronunciations have you had of your last name?
Usually good for one or two good chuckles a game, especially when you get over the PA announcement. I like to use that as the excuse why I didn't make the starting lineup much, because nobody wanted to say it. But yeah, I think there's one YouTube clip where it's announced 9 different ways in like a minute clip. So yeah, it's been interesting for sure.
Heard it all then. Heard it all. So grew up in Tilsonburg. Talk a little bit about growing up, playing hockey there, and how you started playing hockey.
Yeah, I think my dad tells a story where I think I was 3 years old. He put me on the ice. I fell, I cried, and that was it. And then went back out when I was 4, tried it again, and then took off. Left him behind, started playing there, and then was lucky enough to grow up and play in Tilsonburg all the way through till my second year at Bantam. I don't know, for me, staying close to home was fun. Got to play with all my buddies from school, just all my local friends. We got to play together. So yeah, I kind of just rode the wave of playing in Tilsonburg. We had some really good teams, which was always a bonus. Won a couple MHAs. So that was fun.
Absolutely. What age do you think you started being noticed, or do you feel like, did you notice the people were watching you kind of deal, or did people start approaching you, asking you to play places? What age were you?
That's a great question. I got to kind of give credit to my parents here. I think even like my last year in Tilsonburg and Bantam before I went and played junior, I didn't even think I was one of the better players on the team. I was never like, my parents were never the parents to tell me that I was good. It was always like, work at it. Here's what you got to work on, keep going. And then obviously the next year when I went off and played junior C in Norwich was kind of that first summer where I went to Stratford junior B camp and started getting calls, St. Mary's, some junior B camps. That's when it kind of took off after that second year at Bantam, started getting those calls to go to these junior camps as a young guy. And that's where I was like, okay, like maybe this is something where I can go play some junior hockey and do all that kind of stuff. But before that, I just played hockey because we all enjoyed it. Like just being that kid, just playing hockey with my buddies. So
absolutely. Yeah, size. It looks like. Did you always have the size, or did you kind of hit a late sprout, or?
I had a late growth spurt actually, like not super late, but I think we had that crazy year in minor hockey where we went straight from minor peewee to minor bantam, where they kind of shifted all the age groups. So we all jumped a year. And in Tilsonburg, that mattered because that meant you were still the youngest kid on the team because we played the mixed age group. And I think it was in between those 2 years and then like my minor peewee to minor bantam. So that year I went from being one of the smallest 2 or 3 kids on the team. And then all of a sudden in grade 9, I was like 6'1" and like $160. Like grew like 6 inches in a year and a half and was like, oh, I guess I'm tall now. So.
Absolutely.
Luke, just kind of touch in. I mean, it's kind of hard for a 16-year-old to make a junior team nowadays unless they're kind of a special talent or have a projected shot of, being an OHL prospect. Back then, kind of what was it like going into a room, say like Norwich's, where they always have an older team, and how was it adjusting to that game for minor hockey?
It was a big jump, just especially in that league, the physicality and the fact that 2/3 of the rinks in the league were shoe boxes. So not only are you jumping from minor hockey, and at the time, because I was late birthday, I was 14 years old because I was in grade 10, like 14 years old, and I'm jumping on the ice, and all of a sudden you're in the old Norwich arena, and it felt like massive humans all around you. But it was crazy, but luckily enough, we had a great team of older guys. So I think in my head, I like to think I was protected by a lot of tough older guys. So that made life a little easier. And going through the transition, I had a guy like Chad Barkley who did it the year before I did. And I grew up playing minor hockey with him, good buddies with him, still chat with him. So it was nice to kind of have that sounding board to talk to about that adjustment where I wasn't just on an island all by myself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. He just golfed ahead of me in the golf tournament on the weekend, the Duffers. Yeah. Didn't have such a good round. Don't tell him I said anything.
I won't.
He actually told me to bring up once he left Norwich and went to St. Thomas, and he said you were in London playing for the Nats. He told me to bring up a body check with a buddy of you guys is Matt Pastors. Do you recall it and kind of what happened?
Oh, yeah. I still like to bug Paz about this. So believe it or not, even after all this story, Paz was still my best man at my wedding. But yeah, I got sent down from the Knights. I was playing with the Nationals, and obviously Paz and Barch were in St. Thomas. Maddie might tell the story a little differently, but at that time you were visors in Junior B still. So Pazzy had taken, I think, 2 or 3 mouth guard misconducts in like 2 weeks before that. So the coach was making him wear a cage, and I came across the middle, took a pass, and Maddie stepped up, and his cage went directly into my mouth. It was a big hit. I'll give him credit. But his cage smacked me right in the mouth, cut me for 5 stitches in my lip, 4 in my chin, and knocked one of my teeth back on a 45-degree. So I had this little metal bar and 3 concrete blocks like pasted on my teeth to pull this tooth back forward. And I actually had that. I think I went through 2 root canals. It was still dead. Had this ugly tooth until right before I got married. I finally got my dead tooth fixed. So I think it was 11 years after the hit, I finally got my tooth fixed. Thanks to that.
That's pretty good.
Just the cage damage, eh? Mostly from that.
And like, I think it was 10 days of like liquid food, like Ensure shakes and soups and all that, like all thanks to Paz. And at the end of the day, all because he couldn't keep his mouth guard in his mouth for 2 weeks before that.
Isn't that a little coincidence, eh? He can keep his mouth guard and you breaking your jaw, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get sent down the Nationals. You play a year there, and then you go into camp the next year, and did you make the Knights? Is that how it went, or did they call you up?
So I was actually the year I played with the Nats, I was with the Knights. It was my second year. So after Norwich, got drafted to London, went to Thorold, and then made London my 17-year-old year or whatever it is, and was up with them until January 10th, like the deadline. We brought a couple guys in, and then I was up and down with the Nats. Like I went and played, I think, 10 or 12 games with the Nationals, and then would get called up. I think I played 5 or 6 more games with the Knights through the end of the year and a couple playoffs. And then the next year was when I got dealt to Brampton.
Okay. Yeah, you got to play with a couple special players there in London. You got any good stories that you could say about Paddy Kane?
Paddy Kane, like, what that guy did in games was unbelievable. Like what he does in the NHL, he was doing that in the OHL before anybody played like that. Yeah. Like he was doing things nobody had seen before in games, and then take that to a whole other level of what he was trying in practice. Like you're just sitting there, like for me, I still can't toe drag, like never learned how to do it. Like didn't even know, like watching him, he's like just playing with pucks. He'd come down on D-men and like do one hand out to the side and like pull it back through his skates. Like he was doing all this stuff I had never seen before. And I'm sitting there going, and like just almost hiding, being like, I don't want to go on the ice if he's out there. Like I'm not stopping him. Like he's embarrassing guys in games and he's just torching guys in practice. It was the skill level, and like he was ahead of where the NHL is now. Like he was puck possession, talent, like not the biggest guy at all, as everybody knows. And he was smaller back then. Yeah. But like I said, he was doing things nobody had seen before. And now you see guys in the NHL are kind of cut from that same cloth, where I think he would be probably one of the first guys who came in as that undersized, high-end talent and kind of started to transition the game to where it is today, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you there 100%. Yeah, he must have been special to watch. You see some of those videos out there, him and going through the pucks with all his pucks around one puck and just the other ignorant things he's doing. It's pretty special, and 100% he's the kind of the icebreaker with the small guy coming in the hands, and he's still probably one of the best of them out there. I mean, Marner's pretty good. He's getting there. There's a few other guys there, but it's transitioning. You're going to see more and more like it, which is nice, but it's also I'll also miss the old game as well.
Yeah. Well, and like one. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Luke. No, go ahead.
I was going to say one side note on Kane, and I don't know if I remember this correctly. I could be completely wrong, but I swear that he would come, and if we got a power play, he would come and he would change sticks. And at the top of his sticks, he probably won't hear this, so he won't be able to tell you I'm wrong. But on the top of his sticks, he had a 5-on-4 stick. He had a 5-on-3 stick. So we'd get a power play, and of course he's going to play the whole 2 minutes. He'd wheel over, switch sticks. They took another penalty. He'd come back and get his 5-on-3 stick. I don't know what the differences were, but he had different sticks for power play. Like I don't know if they were a little shorter, gave him a little more sauce or what. But I'm sitting there going, "What's going on?" Like I just want something that like a pass doesn't blow up off of, and this guy's changing sticks for power plays.
Unreal.
Yeah, that is unreal. I wonder if he still does that today. That's crazy.
I'm sure you do see it. Like guys go into a power play situation, they run over and grab a fresh stick, and away they go. Right?
Yeah, you do see that when you say that. You think about it. Yeah, it's crazy.
So Luke, you were in London. You're dealt to Brampton. Kind of, did you know that was happening at the time, or was it a kind of a surprise situation? And what was it like switching rooms to a team like Brampton?
So I actually, maybe I shouldn't have, but I asked for a trade. I think when you get in a situation like London, I don't think it's any secret that they bring in top end guys every year. That year they brought in Kane, they brought in Gagne. I think the next year they brought in a guy like Pat Maroon. Where for me, hockey-wise, I love the city. I love billets, all that kind of stuff. But hockey-wise, I just kind of saw being a guy who gets lost in the shuffle because they're just going to keep filling up the top, and that just keeps bumping me down. So I asked for a trade, and lucky enough, London accommodated it and got over to Brampton. It was definitely a transition, switching rooms there and kind of coming in as the new face to a team that didn't have a lot of new guys that year. There was a couple guys came in on trades, a couple young guys, but a group who had been together for a couple years. But I think anyone who's been traded or just moved teams is that at the end of the day, it's pretty easy. The guys welcome you with open arms, and the hockey room, the dressing room is pretty easy to get adjusted to. Once you've been in one, you've kind of been in them all. So the guys were great in Brampton and loved it there too.
Awesome. And then you made the, I don't want to call it decline, you moved back down to junior B hockey to a great organization under Kenny Hill, which rest in peace, Kenny. Kind of explain the change there and going back to Brantford and what that experience was there. I mean, you guys had great teams, great playoff runs.
Yeah, so kind of came down to the same thing. In Brampton, I wasn't playing. I knew the NHL dream was gone for me. So it became tough when you're playing 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes a night. So I kind of made the decision that I wanted to go and play junior B because personally, at that time, I had fallen out of love with the game. I didn't enjoy going to the rink. I wasn't having fun. I was in my third year in the OHL, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm playing 7 minutes a night. So I think the writing was on the wall. And then the decision to go back to Brantford was I wanted to go somewhere close to home. I was doing some courses through Laurier online and wanted to do some more university, some education stuff. So it was kind of the perfect fit. And really the basis of my decision was the coach at the time was Scott Rex, and I had gone to hockey schools, pro tips in London, where Rexy was leading the show there when I was like 12 or 13. So that was like my connection to Brantford, and kind of obviously them being first place didn't hurt, but wanted to go and win and play for Scott. Always enjoyed, I had worked at those camps later on too, so always enjoyed him as a coach and kind of a mentor. So ended up going back there, and yeah, my first year back, won the Sutherland Cup. And then the next year we lost in the finals to a pretty good LaSalle team. So got to play a lot of deep playoff runs in those 2 years and meet a lot of good guys and have some fun. So it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And then being a captain on those teams where you have long runs, did you find that the younger guys looked up to you and kind of went to you for advice on, what to do in certain situations, or maybe even how to get to the next level of hockey?
Good question.
Yeah. I think some of the younger guys strayed away from asking me advice on some aspects because as the older guys, we had some fun in Brantford those 2 years, as you can imagine. But
Yeah.
on the hockey side, yeah, guys would come up, and especially younger guys who were OHL picks who had been to a camp or were trying to make that jump, kind of asking how to make that impact. How do I get noticed? What should I do? How do I get ready for camp? What's it like there compared to here? Just kind of questions where you can just talk about little things, advice you can give, all that kind of stuff. My experience too, whether the good parts and the bad parts. We still pass that on to our athletes that we work with now, because the OHL, there's lots of bright lights there, but it's also not as glorious as it seems sometimes, and it's a lot of pressure on kids and it's a lot going on. So tried to give them that side of it too. But yeah, there was a lot of good young guys coming through Brantford at that time. So yeah, we had a good relationship with the young guys too.
Absolutely.
Luke, going back a little bit, did you, when you said playing the OHL and you kind of said you knew the dream was over or whatever, did you have any kind of offers anywhere else, anywhere down, like kind of full rides, or any universities downstates, or anything, maybe AHL or anything like that at all?
I had never actually even talked to any schools. Mostly because my 16-year-old year in junior B, I had 9 points. So, and then the next year I ended up making London. So I don't know. I don't know if that path would have opened up for me if I had played longer, but I think, like I said, 9 points as a 16-year-old in junior B, the phone wasn't ringing off the hook. And then my whole thing was going into that year. I said, if I don't make London this year, I'm going to pursue school, because with the late birth year, this is all back where I got a shot at the NHL, right? Where you think, okay, if I can make the OHL, I got a shot. So I was like, okay, late birth year, I can make the OHL in grade 12. I can play 2 years, and then it's my draft year after my second year. Where if I didn't make it then and it would have been a draft as a rookie, I was like, no, I'm going to go to school. And then, of course, made London. And like I said, the dream kind of died out, obviously, when you realize how good everybody else is. But yeah.
Absolutely. And you got to play actually under two great coaches, Dale Hunter and Stan Butler. Do you got any great things to say to them, and can you choose one over the other?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I'd probably choose Dale, because Dale didn't get on me much, because Dale was quiet. Like Dale was more like the tactical type. He'd work with the power play, so I was never in any meetings with Dale. And then the assistants, we had Todd Bidner and Dave Gagne were in London with us. But yeah, that's a tough choice. Two guys with big, long resumes, and I think the players who have come out of the program speak for themselves. But I can go with Dale. Just personally, I don't know, me and Stan didn't see eye to eye all the time, as sometimes you coaches and players don't. I've got some funny stories about Stan, some good stories, some not so good stories. But yeah, I'll go with Dale.
I like Dale. Also, as kind of asked, it's funny because like I always print my sheets of the kind of the rosters that you guys played with and stuff. And my wife was looking at it, and I forget the one guy she laughed at because the one girl she grew up with is married to him now. But the other guy was Jordan Shine. She grew up with him and played hockey with his sister and stuff. And she's just like, oh, Jordan Shine. And she's mentioned him before. And when I went over the list, he rang a bell. And I was like, how do I know that guy? But then, yeah, she refreshed my memory and kind of said it. And she grew up and told me kind of he's kind of the tough guy and grew up, and obviously he's not with us anymore. So rest in peace. But did you ever get to talk to him, get to know him at all?
I'm actually happy you brought him up. Shiner in London was my best friend. Yeah, so obviously miss him, and tragedy what happened with him, and it's like gone way too soon. But he was a guy who was kind of that big brother type to me. Only a year older, but he was already in his third year in the league because he made it his first year. Tough. Like, I still tell the kids stories, like the kids I work with who now they see the OHL, and if a guy fights 5 times in a year, he's the toughest guy in the world. I'm like, you ever heard Jordan? He fought like 29 times in London that year, and he fought everybody.
Yeah.
But went to high school with him. We always drove together. His billets lived right by the school. Spent a lot of nights at his billets. We actually, every Wednesday night, this is dating when I played in the OHL a bit, we'd go and play Tiger Woods on Nintendo GameCube with his billet. We had a Wednesday night tea time every Wednesday. And so we'd always sit in the basement, have a couple beers with the billet, and play some GameCube and Nintendo, Tiger Woods. That was when you used to have the heartbeat going when it was going in on the long shot, so everybody get all excited. But no, he kind of taught me the ins and outs of what the OHL was like, and his experience, because he was a high pick. He's a 3rd round pick who got turned into the kind of that tough guy role. But yeah, like I said, he fought everyone. I told a story actually last week to a kid that we were talking about the 3-fight rule. I go, yeah, there used to be a 3-fight rule in the OHL. And they go, really? I go, yeah, if you fought 3 times in the same game, you got suspended for 2 games. I go, Jordan Shine fought, I don't know if I got the numbers right. It was either Liambus twice and Luke Gazdic once, or Gazdic twice and Liambus once in the same game against Erie. And like, he did not pick his spots. He would fight anyone and just go, yeah. Shiner was a special guy. Obviously, like I said, miss him, but he was a huge influence to me and helped me a lot through that first year.
That's crazy little small world. Then yeah, glad I brought him up. That's awesome.
So Luke, I'm gonna get into the CIS here because it's a hockey league where there's a ton of talent, but I don't think it gets the credit that it deserves. Playing down in the States and then coming back and looking at some of these CIS schools and their rosters, like, they're phenomenal. Kind of touch on what it was like going and starting your career playing university hockey.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even since I played, that league keeps getting better and better. And the talent there, like, there's teams with 4 or 5 NHL picks who are guys who just didn't get a great contract offer or got an NHL East Coast 2-way offer and said, no, I'm going to use my school package, especially with some of the school packages guys get now. It's more than they'd make in the East Coast League. Plus, they're getting their education and playing high-level hockey. But that was another transition where in Junior B, obviously a little more time and space, one of the bigger, stronger guys as a 19 or 20-year-old. And then you step to that league and it opens your eyes in a hurry again too, because now you're with 24, 25-year-olds. As I was playing, we had guys who were, I would say, a handful of guys who played entry-level NHL deals. They played 3 years in the American League, and then we're coming back and playing us. And I'm like, man, you guys left. Like, this hockey's for us. You guys go away. But no, it was some of the programs there. Like, you got teams like McGill and UQTR and Western in their prime where these guys are rolling out 3rd, 4th, 5th round NHL picks. And it's like, wow. And like you said, I think it's a league that doesn't get the recognition it deserves. I know they're older, but the U Sports All-Star team always has those great games with the World Junior teams at Christmas. Like, yeah, they're 3-4 years older, but they're beating sometimes the best Canadian kids in the world who are stacked with 15 first-round NHL picks. Yeah. But I think it's a league that's going to continue to grow and hopefully get some more recognition because, like you said, the talent there is insane. It's competitive hockey. Like, guys play hard. It's a short season. So when I was playing, we were playing 28 games. So every game matters because if you're battling with a team and you drop 2 games on a weekend, you're out of a playoff spot or you're sliding down to 7th place, and guess where your first round is? You're going to McGill for a weekend, and it's 2 out of 3 playoffs. So it's like, well, we just sealed our fate. Our year's over. We got McGill. This sucks. But yeah, I had a blast there. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a little game down here in Dover. It's called the Dover Coast Cup. We always host it, Guelph University versus Brock, and it's quite a game to see, especially on a smaller ice. And some of those guys still, like you said, like it's almost like watching Patrick Kane, the way they go through players and how much space they can create even on a small ice.
Yeah, no, it's like I remember playing some of the guys. Who was the guy at Western? Daniel Ehrlich. Like, he was one of those smaller guys who, like, pretty good OHL career, and there I am, like, lumbering down the ice, trying to hit him, and all of a sudden, like, he's gone. I'm like, oh, all right. It's just like, as I played, even in those 5 years there, like, it got so much quicker. It got so much better. But yeah, I really do hope that it starts to get some more recognition. I think more and more guys are getting pro contracts coming out at the end, which is great to see. I think a couple guys this year from some of the teams out east. I know the one guy with Washington, I can't remember his name, was a U Sport guy, made his NHL debut this year. Yeah. You love seeing like stuff like that where these guys aren't getting written off because they made that decision at that time. And it is a league where I think you see a lot of really good OHL players go there and either fall off or don't get better. And then some guys get a lot better. There's tons of opportunities to get better at that league because so when I was there, we practiced Monday to Thursday, 2 hours a day. And then you play Friday, Saturday. So just the amount of reps and ice time, and if you work at your game and the strength and conditioning side when you're at school, you can get a lot better in 4 or 5 years at that age.
Absolutely.
And then Mark's told me to bring this up to you. How did you kind of get started into your fitness training while you were into school there?
So we actually we had a strength coach with the school who just worked with men's and women's hockey. It was Mark Fitzgerald. So at the time, he had worked at Train Like a Pro, which was Adam Foote's setup in Whittier. And then he was kind of freelancing, starting his own thing. He was working with us, and he worked with us our first 2 or 3 years. And then he bought Train Like a Pro, and he turned it into Elite Training Systems. And as he got things started, he came up to me, he goes, "Hey, you've always liked training with me. You want a job?" I'm like, yeah. So the summer before, me and aforementioned Paz, who messed up my mouth for 10 years, our summer job was setting up bouncy castles and wedding tents. So when he offered this, I'm like, please, man, like I will do anything. I don't know if it, yeah. So that was how I got into it. I think it was after my 3rd year at school. He opened up that shop there. I worked full time for him through the summer at their location there, just as getting my feet wet, learning on the go. He was a huge influence for me, obviously getting me into the industry, and then would work part-time through the school year, obviously with hockey and everything going on, would work when I can, but then go full times in the summer. And try and just be a sponge. He ended up getting hired on. He was the Anaheim Ducks strength coach for 2 or 3 years, and then has his own spot going in Kelowna now. So I was lucky enough to essentially have it fall in my lap. Enjoyed training and got the opportunity to get started with a pretty good mentor and a pretty good setup, and learn from that. So
Right place, right time. Deal.
yeah.
Awesome. What were you taking to school?
So I was taking business actually.
Business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that all kind of ties together with what you're doing now, then, eh? So at what point did you decide then to kind of pick up and go and start your own venture?
So it was in my last year when I was playing there and still working part-time. It was just kind of one of those things where I had been away from home since grade 11. So like moved out when I was 15 or 16 and kind of wanted to get back towards home a little bit, and kind of through that year started looking at some options, and everything comes full circle, and started having a conversation with Scott Rex. And the opportunity came up in Brantford with Darren DeDobler there, who owns the Junior B and Junior A teams in Brantford, with a location to kind of start up our own shop and just see what was there. Because Brantford didn't have anyone who was doing it seriously at the time or full time, and ran with it from there. Was lucky enough that my girlfriend at the time and now wife was willing to move to the middle of nowhere. And she's originally from Whitby, had kind of lived in the city, played Canada U19 women's lacrosse, went to Virginia Tech for Division I lacrosse, and then it was like, hey, you want to move here? And she was all in, was 100% supportive, and now we have the business going together and our two little guys. So yeah, like I said, once again, right place, right time, everything fell into place, and was lucky enough to have her be all in on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So kind of explain what you got going on, what your kind of your mission is, who you train, what your goals are.
So we got well, our main facility is outdoors right now in Brantford, but most of the year our main facility is in Brantford, where we work with anyone and everyone who's interested in getting better. We work with kids from 11 or 12 years old playing hockey, soccer, football, baseball, all the way up to our pro group of guys and girls who span across sports as well. Professional lacrosse, professional hockey. We've worked with some football players. We've worked with prep school in Brantford for basketball. So kind of a wide range of training different athletes of different sports. And then we've also have our shed gym that I'm sitting in right now, just outside Ingersoll at our house, which, to be honest, started as me building a home gym. And then I kept spending money on equipment and filling the gym, and looked at it and went, should probably make some money off this. And started with a handful of kids, local kids that had trained with us either through teams in Brantford or other things, and said, you're in Ingersoll, do you do anything here? And it kind of grew from there with word of mouth. And now we train a ton of kids out here. So kind of have our big spot in Brantford and then our little shed home here in Ingersoll.
Awesome. And how's this, all this COVID BS kind of strapped you? Has it strapped you down pretty hard, or what?
It's been tough. Obviously, we've tried to adapt to it. We've tried to do a bunch of online stuff, be it Zoom workouts, online training programs. We have an app that we do strength and conditioning programs at home for kids, so they can use our app. And then, like right now, we're set up at the rugby club in Brantford for outdoor space because that's all we're allowed to do right now. But obviously, it's been tough. I think out of all of 2021, we've been allowed to be in our facilities for 6 or 7 weeks. So it's just been trying to provide the best product and the best training we can for all these kids, because it really sucks for what's going on. As a business, it's been tough, but me and my wife talk about it all the time. We plan on being in business for another 30 years. If I can still move and coach, I'll coach for another 30 years. So we can get a year of business back, where these kids who have missed a year of minor or junior sports or that kind of stuff, those years are limited. Like it's, I don't know, I feel awful for these kids who have lost a year because of this, that, like, you guys know, I'm sure you've talked to some guys who were 20-year-olds last year or overagers, like their year's just gone. It's over. And for guys who aren't going to play pro or youth sports, that might be it for them. So no, it's been hard on everybody, but hopefully we get back to normal here soon. And I'd love to see hockey again in September, October this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just kind of want to touch into, like, with your programs, how much do you guys promote diet and healthy eating with your training programs?
We try and do that a lot. Like, that's something where I think myself personally, I wasn't good with.
I hear you.
I was the king of 4 hot dogs in the microwave with pieces of bread and ketchup at about 11:30 at night, and then go try and sleep like the day, like night before a game. So it's something we try and not push on our athletes, educate our athletes on, because at the end of the day, you can spend an hour and a half, 2 hours here, an hour at the rink, and all that kind of stuff. But the majority of your day is still not training. So if you're not taking care of all the other stuff, then you're losing that advantage you're trying to gain through your training and on ice and all that kind of stuff. We're working with Lauren Folk this summer. She's going to be our sports nutritionist with all of our like high performance or off season package. She's going to do some seminars with all of our athletes on the exact importance of, like, our first seminar will be kind of that basic information of understanding. And then we're going to do a second one where we talk about in-season habits and all that kind of stuff. Because I know myself personally, in season, I always thought I could eat, drink, do whatever I wanted because I was playing hockey all the time and working out. And it's like, it doesn't quite work that way. But it's a huge shift. Like, you guys know, coming up, we didn't talk about that stuff. We didn't know anything. We thought, like, the Norwich Rink Blue Line room on a Friday night where you got your 2 free slices and 2 free beers, that made you ready to play Elmer the next night. That was recharging, man.
Exactly. Yeah, and then go do it again in the Elmer Arena.
Yeah. So just the cycle, but yeah, it's huge, and I think the kids now are so much better with it too. They're so much more aware. It's one of the things we try and not steer kids away from, but educate kids on too, is supplements, because everybody thinks they're the answer. And it's like, well, unless you're getting 8 hours of sleep, unless you're drinking the water you're supposed to, and unless you're taking care of your meals, like, what's the point? Like, do the free stuff first. Don't go spend money on all this stuff if you're not doing the free things first. So we try and harp that on kids, where there's no easy answers, no shortcut, there's no secret. It's consistency, dedication, and attention to detail. And that's what makes kind of that full package. We coined it the 24-hour athlete. If you come here for 2 hours a day, but then you're doing stupid things the other 22 hours, you're just wasting it. So.
Yeah, 100%. And then, like you said, with your gyms and stuff, you cater to multiple sports. Can you talk about, your football camp and all the stuff that you're doing with Austin Pastor?
Yeah, that's one thing we actually really enjoyed, and unfortunately, obviously, COVID has kind of crushed that the last 2 years. What really makes it tough is, with Austin living in Virginia, is even if he wanted to come back to do it, if we were allowed to do it like outdoors, he's got quarantine for 2 weeks, and then he's got to do it. So he's a busy guy. He's got a little baby girl, and he's got another one on the way. So we're looking to get back to it, but it was one thing we really enjoyed, where we had Austin come out and be generous enough to give his time. And the one year we had Luke Wilson come out, my uncle, who's football coach at Laurier. So we've got kind of this great group of football minds and football players and athletes in general, and just letting kids come out and learn. We've had kids who have played football for 10 years out there, and kids who have never played football before but want to meet NFL players.
Yeah.
But that was the cool part, where you see all these kids from different ranges of talents and experience just coming out, and kind of the awe in their face when you see a guy who's 6'7", 315, and go, oh.
Yeah.
He's been great with it. he's a great asset to those kids too. Like their Q&A that he does and just talking with the kids and breaking down these small little skills that he's trying to teach the kids. And I think the biggest thing he tries to do in that camp, because it's a short time, is he's trying to send these kids away with something that they can build off of, that they can work on their own. He's always like, hey, like work on this and then you can do this. And it's nothing crazy. It's things they can do on their own in their backyard. But I think the big thing for him was giving back and getting kids interested in football in the area and an opportunity to work with something like that. Because I think as a kid growing up in the metropolis of Langton, Ontario, he didn't get that chance. So now being the guy that he is and the career he's accomplished, the fact that he's willing to do that, I think is a huge opportunity for kids, and hopefully we'll get back to doing it soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great for you guys. And then the other question I wanted to bring up, because we're getting close on time, but can you just kind of run through your roster of people that help you on a day-to-day basis with training and everything else?
Yeah. So first one's got to be the real boss, my wife, Taylor. She, like I said, supportive through all of this. Told her that I wanted to start our own training facility, and she didn't blink an eye. Didn't ask, well, is it going to pay the bills? Like, was like, all right, like you're passionate about this. I believe in you. And then with her lacrosse background and just being the athlete that she is, she's 10 times the athlete I ever was. She was a huge asset with not only just the support at home, and she coached. She did a ton of coaching. She kind of built the shed because I was in Brantford and she was able to be here and run the shed. And it grew so much by word of mouth that it's booming now because of the work she put in. And now lucky to have her as the mother of our two little guys and be an all-star at that. So she's first and foremost. And then, of course, lucky enough to have her brother work with us. So Carter, he's a rugby player, actually played 4 years of NCAA rugby down in the States, and now is back and living in the area and helping us out full time. So he's been great, and lucky to have him. He's a different pace for us and kind of getting us into that rugby world and that kind of stuff. So it's a good change. And then we have Mike Krokock, played the last couple of years of pro, East Coast League, a little bit in Sweden. Played 4 years at Sacred Heart Division 1. So just another hockey guy, local Brantford guy that everybody knows and is awesome with the kids. Uncle Mike, I think, as the kids refer to him. He's a bit of he's the hammer. He comes down on the kids pretty hard sometimes, but it's kind of funny. So we enjoy it. And then we have, this summer, we've actually got Mike DePaulo, another hockey guy, played some East Coast, played in the OHL. He's helping us out as he finishes masters in kinesiology. And then Sydney Brown, who is Brantford, played 4 years of University of Guelph rugby. So another rugby athlete, turned into a coach. She's been great working with all of our groups. And then we get guest appearances. Adam Brady, when he's around, he helped us out a bunch last summer. I think he just messaged me. They just got back into Ontario. So he'll help us out, just finished his first year in the East Coast League. And then we had Matt Hoover help us out in the past as well. And now we have Paul Shahura joining us for some on-ice development in September. So we're pretty stocked on the former athletes converted to coaches here.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had Brady on, I don't know, a month or so ago, I think now he walks. He was awesome.
Yeah, right before he started up there in Kansas City. We had him.
He had a pretty good year from what I've seen.
Yeah, and like impressive story on that guy too. Like crazy story, and like skull to the earth guy. We love him. We're happy to have him whenever he's around. So yeah, he's awesome, and it doesn't hurt that he's built like a Greek god, and he walks in and all these 16 and 17-year-olds look at him and go, oh my God. Like, yeah, that's what you got to look like to play pro hockey. Let's go.
We always said too with him, How much do you think he looks like Austin Matthews?
That's what I was just gonna say. We were calling him Austin Matthews when he's on the show.
Yeah, he definitely's got it. I'm gonna be nice to Braids and say his forehead isn't quite as big, but yeah, he's got the Matthews look there. And he definitely has he's got the quads. Him and Matthews with the quads for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's hilarious. Don't you ever have a cousin or a brother who's a swimmer that you're related to? Is it your brother?
That's my baby brother. So yeah, Evan. Yeah. So he's 4 years younger than I am and 6 inches taller. But yeah, he swam in the Rio Games on the relay team for Canada there. So that was pretty amazing experience. Pretty cool. So
absolutely. Now, did you help out with his training at all, or was that kind of all a Team Canada thing?
I can't really take much credit for that. He would come by once in a while, but he was swimming at the University of Guelph at the time, so they were training there. And then whenever they would do camps, it was all Team Canada stuff. So he'd be in and out, but yeah, that was mostly built in by Swim Canada there.
Nice. And then just with him doing, that elite level training, did you ever take any advice or tips from him with sport specific training?
A little bit here and there. Like I'd ask them what they're kind of doing because we work with some swim clubs now. We work with the Brantford Club. We work with Wilmot and Ingersoll. So I'd ask them stuff that they'd work on, just little things here and there. Because at the end of the day, like with our training, especially at the younger age groups, until you get up until that 18, 19, 20-year-old kind of, we'll call it not even elite level, but older training age, stuff looks very, very similar. Like every kid needs to be stronger, faster, better conditioned. And to me and to our staff, it's a very simple way to get there, whether you swim, whether you box, whether you play hockey, whether you play football. There's little tweaks here and there, but at the end of the day, the basics work for everyone until you get to that level where they stop working. But yeah, and I always joke, he won't listen to this, so it's okay. I always joke, he's the worst athlete to ever go to the Olympics. The kid can swim and can swim all day and is fast as hell in the pool. Ask him to shoot a free throw. Like, ask him to do anything else. Kick a soccer ball. He's the worst athlete to ever go to the Olympics. I'm sorry if you hear this, Evan, but you know I love you, and I'd say it to your face, so it's okay.
That's awesome. So look, you got any? I know you're a gym. It's early in the days and stuff. But any other success stories of any athletes that you kind of helped train and got somewhere pretty far in their careers or anything yet?
Yeah. So I'm trying to I guess our thing is with us starting 5 years ago. We've worked with the Dalby brothers. We've worked with Crocock, Brady, and all these guys. And Matt Hoover, but we don't really claim them as our success stories or athletes that we've paved the way for, because they were getting to that level before they came to us, right? They were there. We've helped along the way. So right now, our guys coming up are kind of that 03, 04 age group who have started with us, who have been with us for 4 years, training, and kind of we were their first exposure to strength and conditioning. We got luckily enough, a lot of good kids in that age group. We've got Landon McCallum from Delhi, who's on the NHL Central Scouting list, which is awesome for him. The Maddox Callens from Langton, playing in Kingston. Cole Hipkin, another kid who's committed to St. Lawrence. Stevie Form, who's lined up to go play for the 67s this year. Ellis Rickwood, another kid who's on the NHL Central Scouting list and is going through the process of NCAA recruitment right now. And then our 04 age group, you've got Gavin Bryant, Bo Jelsma, Brandon Balaz, these kids who just got selected to the OHL and are ready to make the jump next year. We've got a kid, Dylan Robinson, who's another 02 who we all think very highly of, and I think is going to turn some heads on the improvement he's made. He's he's kind of our, I'm not going to call it a comeback story, but he's our kid who over the last year of all this COVID has done a complete 180, like has committed himself full time to this. And I think he's going to be unbelievable this year. If I missed any guys, I'm sorry, but yeah, that's kind of our group coming up through OHL and NCAA in the next couple of years who we're really excited about. And I think from our standpoint can say we put a stamp on, we're at least a part of the process for these kids coming up.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I totally understand what you mean. Yeah, you can't really say you can take credit or anything, but yeah, you just kind of helped along the way, and yeah, it's kind of cool to see that you helped them, and yeah, if they get a little farther or whatever, right, you feel a little special or whatever. But that's awesome. A lot of those kids, they sound really familiar, and I think it's just from look at the NHL scouting lists and stuff and like that. And sounds great future you got going on there.
No, we're excited.
Yeah. Have you been paying any attention to the NHL playoffs at all?
I have been. It's been wild. I think that Vegas Montreal series is about as backwards as you can get, where whatever team dominates that night loses.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's talked about it, but the end of the Tampa Islanders game the other night, like, come on.
Yeah.
The sprawling save, but it's insane, like how good the game is right now and how fast. And personally, I miss the physicality a little bit, but it comes back in playoffs, which is nice. But these guys, it's crazy. And you look at a guy like Kucherov. This guy doesn't play for 9 months and steps back in and can do this. Like I forget if it was game 1 or game 2. Game 2, I think. The play behind the net where he like almost like little poke back to point, and then he comes down later and like delays and shakes Barzell and then slides that through. You're like, I feel rusty when I was playing, I felt rusty if I didn't skate for 9 days. I felt awful. This guy doesn't play a game in 9 months and comes out and does this. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Right. There's probably about 15 times where he holds the puck and waits, and I'm like, I would have shot that 12 times before he even thinks about making a pass.
No, it's crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's Walker the one day at work. He's the best hockey player in the whole league. He's the best player in the whole league. I'm like, well, he's definitely up there. But I'm like, I don't know if you can say the whole league, but I'm like, yeah, it's pretty absolutely nuts what he's doing right now.
Well, and like, I laugh how people are knocking Tampa on the salary cap thing, and like whatever. Like they didn't break the rules. They got not lucky. They lost their best player, but they were good enough to still have a high seed going in. And nobody said boo when they didn't have Stamkos all last year and were $8.5 million under the cap because they don't have that guy in the lineup. And now they're all ripping on them. Like they got Kucherov back. It's like they're just that good. Like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, any team or whatever fans wouldn't do the exact or wouldn't want their team to do the exact same thing. They'd be loving it too. So.
Yeah, and we were talking about it, like just going on a Tampa rant here. Could you imagine playing against Victor Hedman?
Oh.
Like, hey, 6'6", physical enough, can skate as faster than you. I'm quicker than you. I'm stronger than you, and I'm not going to turn the puck over. It would be demoralizing going against that guy every night. Like,
just crush all your hopes.
Yeah, no, the build they got there is special. The group they got, and I wouldn't have to worry about Kucherov and Stamkos and those guys too much because they'd be long past me. But I would hate going against Hedman all night.
Yeah, that would definitely get in your head and head, no pun intended. But he's obviously one of the best in the game for a reason, and that team, they should move on. It looks like they're killing the Islanders here, and I keep getting all these updates here, all these fights, and Barzell just kind of thrown out of the game, and so it looks like it's getting a little rough there. But I think we're running out of time here. We got about a minute left, so quickly, Luke, before we leave, just give it a quick plug with your business, where we can find you, kind of deals, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Just let them know, and once we leave after here, it'll be a quick little outro. If you just want to stay with us after, we'll shoot the shit for maybe 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, and that'd be great.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me on. This was awesome. Great to kind of talk hockey and go back through my journey. But yeah, for our business, you can find us at Athlete Farm Training. I think all the social media stuff is just Athlete Farm. But yeah, look us up. And if anyone's interested in training, just reach out. We're always happy to have more athletes to work with.
Awesome. All right. We thank you, our guest Luke, once again very much for coming on. We appreciate it, man. We'd like to maybe come back down the road, revisit, and see what's up and how things are for you when kind of we get back to normal and such. I'm sure you're going to get a little bit more exciting things going on once you get it up and running a little bit better. But for now, we'll say goodbye. Wooks, sign off, and we're missing Findsy tonight, but we're going to be back. We're not too sure when our next show will be, but we're kind of going to take the summer here and there, but we'll be back. We'll see. Follow our social media pages, and we'll let you know. But thank you again for tuning in. And this is, again, Season 2, Episode 19 of Off the Puck. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time. Peace.
Make sure to check out our past shows from previous weeks on our YouTube, Facebook, or Mixcloud channels. You can always catch up on podcasts while checking out our FHN Network channel on YouTube or Facebook. Or you can listen to an audio copy of our past shows on our Mixcloud channel at FHN_Network. The FHN Network, the future of entertainment.